is currently 4:50 p.m. on November 17th, and we're bow hunting still. So I'll tell y'all a story real quick. Alright, so now it is November 23rd. I'm a little bit behind, but whenever I filmed that video November 17th, right before I filmed it, I was actually able to shoot a deer with my bow, and it was a really nice deer. I really liked the deer. We'll put some pictures up of him later. So let me just cut real quick and give y'all the full story. Alright, so around 12, November 17th, around noon, I was working on some fence and stuff, getting some T-posts painted and stuff like that. And it was just a Sunday evening, and I thought, let me go ask my dad if I can just go sit in the blind for a little bit. Well, it gets around 2:30 or so. I get my camo on, I get my bow ready, and I go out to the blind. And I sit there, and I ain't really seen nothing. Around 3:45, I had 2 does come in, and they left. But around 4 o'clock is whenever everything started kicking up. So I had 3 does come in at 4:05, around 4:05, 4:10. And they stayed there for about 10, 15 minutes. And they left. They actually ended up coming back about 5 minutes later. So at the time, we're about 4:35-ish. And 4:40, decided I would just get on my phone, just watch some YouTube. Sunset had already happened. The sunset at 4:36 that night. Sunset had already happened. I just decided I'm going to just end the night off watching some YouTube. And I'm sitting there, and about 15 minutes later, I pick up my phone to go change my YouTube video that I was watching. Pick up my phone, I look to my left, I see these 2 does that are over here that I hadn't seen yet. And I look straight out, didn't see anything, and I forget to look at my right. And since I forgot to look to my right, I just keep looking at these 2 does. Well, they were just does, so I get back on my phone, I continue watching some YouTube. And I didn't even think anything about looking to my right. Well, about 5 minutes later, I put down my phone again. I'm looking at these 2 does. I look straight out. I don't see anything. But this time, I actually do look to my right. There's like a trail, like a 4-wheeler trail, that keeps on going. And you could see down there for a little bit. Straight out, there's just an open area, some trees. To my left, there's like a grass food plot. And I look to my right on this 4-wheeler trail, and I'm looking kind of towards into the woods on the 4-wheeler trail, and I see this rack that is digging into the dirt. And I'll watch it for a second because at the time it didn't look that big. And he was just sitting there working a scrape for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. He was a nice 10. I liked how he looked. And when his rack was digging in the dirt, that rack started getting closer to me. So I'm picking up my rangefinder. I'm like ranging him and all this good stuff. Then I pick up my bow, making sure my broadhead's good screwed in, making sure it's all working and stuff. I hook my release onto my D-loop, and I get ready because he's walking towards the corn pile. Well, he stops and actually goes straight out to where he's walking away from me. And he circles around this dead cedar tree. And, like, the cedar tree's right here, and he would have been on this side of the cedar tree. And then he just kept walking away from me. Well, I gave him about 2 minutes. He starts walking towards where he came from. And then he makes his way to the corn pile. And here's where things get rough. Because I go to draw back. And if you remember from last video, I had some problems drawing back. but I actually cranked my bow down to where it'd be a little bit easier to draw back. But I was reminded that I didn't have a safety harness at the time, so it made me stress less. And then I draw back, but I bumped the blind. And it was the same thing that had happened last video. I draw back, and the deer jumps back a little bit. Well, that happened. He didn't jump back as far as the deer last video did, though, because this deer only jumped back like 2 steps instead of 5, so I still knew where he was at, like range-wise, and I didn't punch my release. But I was sitting there, and I was draw back, and I didn't think anything about what he still looked like, because at the time I was just worried about getting drawn back. So I keep my bow drawn back, and I come off of my peep sight a little bit just to look at his rack again, and I really liked it. So I go back down to my peep sight. I'm looking through. He's on my 20-yard pin right there because he was at 22 yards, and I shot him, but the shot was really far back, so it was like a liver shot, and into the guts a little bit, or into the stomach a little bit, but it did punch through and get to the liver, thankfully. Otherwise, I don't think he would have died. And after that, I'm like texting my dad, my mom. I'm like, I just smoked a nice deer. The only concern is it might be a little bit far back. And it's around 5 exactly. So it's getting dark. I'm putting all my stuff on my backpack. I'm clipping my bow to my backpack. I've got everything in this little backpack. And I get ready to go. I'm heading back towards my side-by-side, and I'm shaking because I think that I had just killed a giant deer. Well, we give him about 3 hours. We go eat. We come back around 7:45, 8 o'clock. And then after that, we called some other people to see if they wanted to help track with us. Because this was really important to me, my family. It was my first bow kill, and I did it by myself. So I thought we all thought that was pretty cool. So we go back, and we're finding blood, and I'll put some pictures of the blood, like right there, what we were finding. It was just super dark. Like, the blood was super dark, and it was dark outside too. And we get to this trail, and we're like finding all this blood on this trail, and my grandfather comes up on the side by side, helps us look and stuff, and then we start to hear rustling of leaves. And I told y'all that this shot was probably a little bit far back, and the blood started getting smaller as we went on. We'd probably been tracking for about 250 yards. But, and when we heard the rustling of leaves, we just thought, man, that was probably him, since the shot was a little bit far back. We probably shouldn't keep going, but we're just going to have to hope that was not him, because tomorrow's a school day. So it was probably about 8:30 at night, and we're tracking, and we end up crossing a gas line, and this is all on our property. We end up crossing a gas line, and we're looking for blood here. We can't find no blood. We go back into the woods, find our last spot of blood, and we're putting markers down for that. We're using hunt stand and all this stuff. We're just making sure that we have every spot of blood marked on a map. And we ended up finding blood across the gas line. and we tracked this deer for 400 yards. And we just decided we'd give him a little bit. We're just going to stop on this gas line. We're going to go get our side-by-sides from where we started tracking and all this. So we got our side-by-sides and stuff, and we're back in the woods tracking. And my dad has the most knowledge out of all of us hunting and stuff. And so we just decided that we'd let him go first, right? And he ends up finding this deer about 400 yards away from the gas line. And he's sitting there laying down trying to die. This deer is trying to die. And my dad walks up to him, and he was still alive. So that this deer was here laying dead, or dying, and he was suffering. We did not like that. So Dad ended up having to finish him off with a pistol. But that don't matter, because it was my bow kill. I did it. Yeah, really fun night that night. With endless hours of hunting this year, I did not think that I was going to kill a deer. But by the grace of God, and I want to say by my faith in Him, that I put my trust in Him to bring a deer towards me. And I prayed for that. And the Lord delivered. I was able to kill this deer. I'll put some pictures up at the end of the video of what he looked like. Just some older trail cam pictures. And I'm really thankful for this deer. It's kind of emotional. Anyways, we had endless hours of hunting, sitting in the ridge on a stand or down in a ground blind, just spending time putting up a Millennium tree stand, building other box blinds, just endless hours put into hunting on this property. And it finally paid off. November 17th, 2024. 13-year-old killed a buck out of a ground blind with a bow. People say that's really hard. I don't know, I did it. But just from everybody I've talked to that's experienced, they say that's probably the hardest thing that they've ever accomplished or are trying to accomplish. Yeah. But all these videos that I've been putting out, I think this is the third bow hunting video. The third episode of bow hunting. It didn't take that long. Actually, in real life, it probably took about 2 months. But for y'all, I don't put up videos that quick. But let's throw a little montage of what he looks like. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you really would like to support the channel, you can head on over to gncbasstackle.myshopify.com and get you some fishing lures for the winter fishing season. You can find us on Facebook or YouTube, GNC Bass Tackle. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And I'll see you in the next one.